Kia ora, good evening, welcome to Central News for Monday the 19th of May. I'm Hilary Entwistle. A successful child protection program developed in Hamilton will be centre stage at a prestigious international child abuse conference in Japan. Anthea Simcock, Chief Executive of Child Matters, has been asked to give a paper about Buddy Day at a conference organised by the International Society for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect in September. The conference in Nagoya draws hundreds of international experts in the field of child protection each year. Anthea Simcock explains what it means to have Buddy Day on an international platform.
Well, it's the annual conference of the International Society for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect, and as you say, it is a prestigious conference, and we were very lucky and delighted that our abstract was chosen as a presentation at this conference to talk about Buddy Day and its involvement in changing child-centred societies, which is the theme of the conference. So we know that Buddy Day is not an international event, and so we're really excited that we're able to share that with like-minded people right around the world.
Hobbit Holes by Twilight will add to the large success of the tourist attraction of Hobbiton movie set. The evening dinner tours will open on June the 4th and is said to benefit the local economy even more by attracting a different tourist crowd. Marketing manager of Hobbiton movie set, Shane Forrest, says the atmosphere of Hobbiton at dusk is unique and a completely different experience.
So that's correct. In June we'll be launching our evening dinner tours, which is a new product that's 12 months of work, well over 12 months of work now has gone into putting it all together, when it's really quite a spectacular product that we're launching. So it's the evening dinner tour, which will be a twilight tour through the village, learning about how the movie set was created, how it was put together for filming. Then they'll make their way into the Green Dragon after their time out on set, where they'll sit down, be able to enjoy a complimentary South Farthing beverage, our exclusive beverage range here at Hobbiton, in front of our nice big open fires, before making their way through into the Green Dragon dining room. We'll have bigger banquet feast all set with nice Hobbit theme to it, so big pieces of meat, very hands-on, heaving with food all along the table. Before then, at the conclusion of the evening, they'll be given a little handheld themed lantern, and their guide will take them back through the village, which will be all lit up, smoking chimneys, a real glow throughout the windows, everything lit up looking quite amazing.
The Bay of Plenty Rugby Union's alternative jersey design competition closed on Friday. An 11-year-old Rotorua intermediate student, Keenan McCullum, was announced as being the winning designer. Keenan's design got a massive 677 votes. Runner-up Aidan Horan's design received 640 votes, and voting at times was neck and neck. Keenan says he was jumping like crazy around the lounge when he found out his design won. The alternative jersey is to be worn by the Steamers for up to 2 games in this year's ITM Cup. Now for our region's marine forecast, west coast, southwest 15 knots, the sea's slight, and that southwest swell rising to 3 metres at times. Its high tide in Raglan is 14:27. East coast, variable 5 knots, but southwest 10 knots west of Motiti Island, becoming southwest 10 knots everywhere in the evening. The sea's slight and it's mostly fine out there. High tide in Tauranga is 12:14 p.m. Just ahead, why not to use lead ammunition? Welcome to Central News. The game bird hunting season opened on the 3rd of May and most hunters have complied with bag limits. Several years ago though, lead ammunition was phased out for game bird shooting.
The lead shot cartridges have been banned for some years now. The ban came in because ducks actually can eat the lead shot off the bottom of the pond, mistaking it for grit, which they eat for their, as a normal thing to aid their digestion. And it's toxic, it poisons the ducks in short. So there's been a ban in place for some years, and that is why Fish and Game is so strict on the banned use of lead shot within 200 metres of bodies of water, because we really don't want that stuff in the environment. And as you'd be aware, lead concentrates in the food chain, so it's toxic and nasty. We don't want it. So lead shot has been replaced with steel shot, and of course your fanatical hunters have had arguments over the years on which is better and whether steel shot is as good, and basically if you're doing things the right way with your shotgun, it's just as good, and of course all those environmental benefits. So there you are.
Is that hard to police? I mean, you're saying that you can use lead, but you can only use it 200 metres away. It sounds quite complicated.
It is a little bit hard to police in some ways, but we do have rangers going out quite widely. This past weekend with the opening of the game bird season, we've had major ranging operations right around the country, and every ranger who goes into a mai where there are hunters will ask to see their ammunition, and if they've got lead shot, it's probably going to be confiscated because they're next to water and just shouldn't have it. And of course we have honorees who are out there right through the season checking on hunters, so if you're caught with lead ammunition in those circumstances, you're facing an infringement notice and the loss of it, so why would you? We just urge hunters to abide by that rule for very good environmental reasons.
Hunting can be quite a dangerous sport, and that was evident in recent cases. Can you tell me about that?
This season so far, regrettably, there have been 2 incidents where hunters have, shall we say, been accidentally shot. Both of those cases, fortunately not serious. Some pellets caught in the side of the leg. In the South Island case, in the North Island, a hunter near Wellington received some pellets to the elbow. I mean, there is actually no excuse for these sort of incidents happening. If you abide by the 7 rules for safe handling, which are put out every season by both us and the Mountain Safety Council, there is no reason to put a foot wrong. And all we say as hunters, please don't be complacent, that observe these rules to the letter. And the rules are the likes of check your firing zone. So if I'm looking out there and a boat comes into view, that's obviously a hazard in my firing zone, and I'm not going to fire. Or if there's a house in my firing zone, even if it's distant, I'm not going to fire. And likewise, of course, clearly identify your target. Having said that, the accidents that occur in deer hunting, you just do not get in game bird hunting, because most of the time it's a group of hunters firing from a mai in the same direction and towards the sky. So risks are somewhat minimised, if you like. But again, if you follow those rules and hunt safely, you shouldn't get into any trouble. Good hunters tip off their mates too. If I've loaded my gun, I might say, gun loaded, safety on, just to tip off my hunting companions. So
the weather can change quite quickly out there. Are there any tips on how to prepare?
I think most good hunters know that you have to be prepared for the worst of weather, because let's face it, the best hunting is often in the worst of winter weather. Wind and rain and the sort of conditions that are going to give you hypothermia potentially if you're underprepared. So all those normal bits of advice, like merino clothing, good under type clothing to keep warm, layering up, and of course the very good waterproof camouflage jacket that has a hood and gives you good protection from the elements. And if I can put in a quick plug there are some camo jackets which can be won, courtesy of Hunting and Fishing New Zealand, if hunters return their duck band information, and that aids our research, of course. So there's a chance to win a really nice jacket if you're returning your duck band information.
What is it like out there this season? Are there lots of birds out there to be hunted?
The bird scene is incredibly varied from place to place. Whether you're shooting in a local wetland out at Kaituna, or you're hunting in the Thornton area, which is hunted well. Some hunters got their bag limits very early there on the day. remembering that those bag limits are quite small this season, so you're going to reach those limits sooner. But enormous variation really, and of course it's somewhat down to your skills as a hunter, and of course that great variable, the weather, that you want rainy, windy, rather nasty weather to keep the ducks low, where they can both see the decoys that you've put out on the pond to entice them in, and they can hear the duck calls that you're putting out, because that's the way you attract the ducks, to be able to target them. So, you know, a few variables there to contend with.
For further information on licences, bag limits and other regulations, visit fishandgame.org.nz. Coming up next, Snail Mail Day. Welcome back. Gone are the days of walking down the driveway to the mailbox and receiving a handwritten letter. Nowadays it's mostly emails and texts, but one local woman plans on changing that just for a day.
Judy Billcliffe, welcome to Central News. Tell me, what is Snail Mail Day?
Well, snail stands for send anyone, that's the little text speak, send anyone an interesting letter.
Okay, well, how did it come about?
Well, you have life-defining moments sometimes, and I was sitting, actually was formed in Tikawari. I was sitting on the couch watching my oldest daughter and her friend who was visiting from Dunedin, and my daughter had a box of her memorabilia box, and all the letters they found, they'd written to one another when they were 13, 14. And as I sat watching them, the joy, the pleasure, the laughter of, oh, did I fancy him? And, I don't remember that. And, oh, remember we did that? And their children were running around, and I looked at them and I thought, you know, if we don't actually do something about this, those children are never going to have that pleasure.
You're absolutely right, because we text, we email, we do communicate, we post messages on Facebook and whatnot, but we don't necessarily print those messages.
No.
And unless we're saving them to a hard drive every time we change computers, those messages can be gone.
And what are you going to say in years to come? Oh, I remember you sent me a romantic text once. Not quite the same as here's the love letter you wrote me 40 years ago.
Are we losing the art of letter writing?
I think we are, and as actually my husband had a good point. He said to me, you know, writing a letter is a letter. So whether you are doing it via email or whether a letter you're going to post, for children in the future when they're applying for a job, when they're writing a complaint about something, being able to formulate a letter and put it together correctly, because spell check doesn't pick everything up, is really important. Yeah. It's a useful tool that our children, they are losing.
And you know, there's something about a handwritten letter. With Anzac Day not that long ago, my mum was going through her bits and bobs from her father and pulled out a postcard that he had sent from France in 1915 to his sister back in Palmerston North, with his beautiful handwriting. You know, we're trying to read it, and her father, who would be well over 100 now if he was alive, had held that. That's so
precious.
Special.
It's precious. And I discovered Mum had left, she left behind a lot of letters that she had written, and I got them out on the weekend, and my daughter was there and just going, wow, you know, Granny wrote this, and look, this is Granny's writing. Nothing replaces that.
And even the fact that they've touched it. Mum gave me Dad's diary a couple of days ago, and there at the back were just a few notes he'd made, and I just ran my fingers over the pen marks. I thought,
it's quite emotional.
Dad wrote this, he touched this, and there's his writing, and it's still messy as ever. But we're losing that. We are. Because even though we can print the emails, that emotion,
it's not quite the same.
You know, even writing in capitals and underlining,
it's true.
The indentations in the page. So Snail Mail Day, what are we going to do? How many letters should we write?
It's the 13th of June, and I chose that day because my mother was an avid letter writer, and that will be the 15th anniversary of her death. So I guess that's my own pilgrimage, I suppose. And I just want people all over the country, and as I'm realising now, I'm having people liking the page, the Facebook page from the States, from Canada, from Australia, and in the Western world, we all do the same thing. We've all got too busy. So I would like more people than vote to actually get out there and post a letter.
Absolutely.
And I was thinking, if people say, oh, but it's so expensive, sure it can be. Mind you, they're often probably saying that while they're buying their kids an ice block each at $1.50 each. But in saying that, there's no reason why you can't write a letter and actually pop it into the letterbox of a friend or a family member, because you're still getting that same pleasure
and
of giving.
teaching our children the process, writing a letter, return address on the back, going to the post shop. Sounds like such a process, actually, as you say it, putting the stamp on and putting it in the box. A lot of kids haven't done that.
Well, a mum said to me since I started this idea, she said, you know, we did some cards a few weeks ago and I was horrified. My son didn't know you could post a letter.
Wow.
I don't know how old he was, but probably 7 or 8, and he had no idea of how to do it.
Imagine you're also spreading joy, because so often it's just bills.
My oldest granddaughter said the other day, it's really cool to get something with your name on it, even when it's a dentist letter. And her little sister, who's 8, said, yeah, but they're typed, it's not the same.
There you go. So we need handwritten letters to anybody, anywhere.
Because it's the pleasure you get from receiving, but it's also to understand the pleasure you can give by actually sending that letter.
Now, you've got a Facebook page.
Yes, we have. I've set a Facebook page up, and it is just snail mail, the capital letters, and day, capital D. And yeah, anyone, anywhere, come along, join it. And I realised that a lot of children, I mean, I'm a children's author. I'm about writing and literacy. And so I've actually got a page on my website, Snail Mail, so those children can go and have a look and be involved as well.
And Snail Mail Day is coming up on the 13th of June. Just ahead, the bid for a night shelter in Tauranga. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Many larger cities have a night shelter, somewhere for the homeless to feel safe, to eat and to shelter from the elements. Tauranga does not have such a facility, but the Tauranga Moana Night Shelter Trust has tried for many years to build one.
Yes, well, Matt Elliott's predecessor, Councillor Aaron Fraser, approached the council in 2009 with concerns about the number of homeless that he felt he was just recycling through the system and not making any headway. And the end result of that was the council said, look, you know, you come back to us and with something a bit more concrete, some ideas about what you want to do, where it should go. And a group of us got together and formed in the first instance, like a coalition of all the agencies, and after that we set up the trust as a core group to have sort of the legal status we needed to proceed. So that all happened in 2009 and into 2010.
Who are those other organisations that kind of make up that coalition?
Yeah, I think at last count there were about 16 organisations that have an interest in what we're doing. The usual suspects like the police, corrections, the District Health Board, of course, because they often are dealing with mental health and addiction issues and also chronic illness. Work and Income, Housing New Zealand, and then the churches in the community that work with the homeless, St Peter's Church, Elam Church, Salvation Army, the Ngaitarangi Iwi are also involved, just to give you a fair bit of an idea of who's involved, yeah.
Once up and running, what is the shelter going to provide?
The shelter will first and foremost provide temporary care. It'll provide a roof, a safe place to sleep, and that's our first and foremost our goal. But beyond that, it'll be the hub and a focal point for all of the support services and so on that are really going to be needed to help these men, or the ones that want to find their pathway out. out of homelessness and back into independent living.
Gary, what is your position at St Peter's House?
I'm employed at St Peter's House as a social worker. It's a DHB funded position, and it's primarily to come alongside the homeless and work with them and find out their needs, their real needs. Sometimes it's a case of some people put things in place and say this is what you need, but in truth I'll be conducting shortly a survey around their needs so that they can feed into the Night Shelter Trust and perhaps facilitate, what will actually be provided for.
In your opinion, how big is the problem here in Tauranga City?
It's not so much a problem, it's just a social issue. Every community, every sort of metropolis has a homeless issue, if you like. As Matt referred to earlier, there's a nucleus of, say, 30 or 40 recognised sort of what we'd call full-time homeless, but it can escalate up to, say, 80, counting those who are fringe homelessness through rough sleeping, friends, temporary accommodation, that sort of thing. But for Tauranga, it's actually a vital issue in the sense that we are a large metropolis and we don't have this facility, and most other cities have something in place to accommodate for this issue.
The night shelter is expected to open in July, just in time for the colder winter. Now for your weather for Tuesday. Hamilton, cloudy periods with a southwest breeze and an expected high of 18 and an overnight low of 7. It's the same for the rest of the Waikato. It's cloudy periods with a westerly breeze. Paeroa 18 and 7. Matamata 16 and 7. Te Awamutu 18 and 7. Tokoroa 16 and 7. Tauranga mostly sunny with a developing westerly. Your expected high is 18 and an overnight low of 10. The same for you, Te Puke, is 17 and 9. That is Central News for today. Like us on Facebook or email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz and let us know of anything happening in your community. Join me again tomorrow night for more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.